In today's video, we're going to be looking at the 2023 to 2024 Winter Snowfall Forecast. This map is going to zoom in many times on many different parts of the country. We're going to be focusing on all areas from 100 inches plus down to 2 to 5 inches for the season. This is a forecast and not just an average snow map, so it's going to be very exciting. It did take some time, so I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, let's get right into it. 100 inches plus. We are talking about an unbelievable amount of snow here in places like Jamestown, New York, over to Syracuse, Watertown, many of these lake effect belts in anywhere from the UP of Michigan over to New York State, the Green and White Mountains of northern New England, and down into places like Snowshoe, West Virginia, and parts of the Laurel Highlands of PA. Now going out west, 100 inches plus. Some of these areas could of course see much more than 100 inches. This includes places like Aspen and Telluride, Colorado, Flagstaff, Arizona, a bit above average due to that El Nino, Lake Tahoe, California, Jackson and Jackson Hole, Wyoming, of course, could see much more than 100 inches on those higher peaks and up into the Cascades as well in the northwest. Now, 80 to 100 inches of snow. Everywhere you see dark red, that is 80 to 100. So Buffalo, New York, Somerset, PA, not quite Binghamton, New York, but those higher elevations nearby. Many of the higher elevations of upstate New York, as well as the Berkshires of Massachusetts into much of northern New England, like Caribou, Maine. Heading out west, Casper, Wyoming is the only city I have on the map here. It's a lot of high elevations once again out west. Now, 60 to 80 inches. We're dropping a little bit, but we're still talking about a lot of snow here. This includes Johnstown, PA, up there in the Laurel Highlands, Rochester, New York. So that is a bit below average up there, as we are expecting a little bit of a quieter lake effect season in those areas. Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Duluth, Minnesota. Also Bangor, Maine, for 60 to 80 inches of snowfall. Now, Denver, Colorado, Cheyenne, Wyoming often see pretty similar amounts of snow in the entire season, and then this also includes just slightly lower elevations out west, but we're still talking about pretty high up, generally 5,000, 6,000 feet and above here. Now, 50 to 60 inches of snow, so we're getting a little bit lower into this dark blue. We're still, this is still a lot of snow, especially for you folks down south. This is still an unfathomable amount of snow a year. So Portland, Maine, a bit below average up there. Worcester, Massachusetts, somewhat below average, pretty close. Albany, New York, Wellsboro, PA, South Bend, Indiana, and then parts of northern Wisconsin and northeastern Minnesota as well. Heading out west, 50 to 60 inches, we have Fort Collins, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Utah. After a record-breaking snowfall last winter, we're expecting amounts that are a bit closer to average out there. So not quite the year that we had last winter, and then also, of course, some mountain peaks out west. Maybe not the peaks, though. We're looking at probably about 4,000 to 5,000 feet now at this point. In some cases, as low as 3,000 feet. Now, 40 to 50 inches of snowfall. This is the next shade of blue here. So you're looking at Cleveland, Ohio. That's a bit below average for you all, but once again, that below average, quieter lake effect season results in that 40 to 50 inch amount. Boston, Massachusetts, somewhat around average generally. Over to Flint, Michigan, a little bit below average. Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Minneapolis, Minnesota, still a little bit below average over there. Heading out west, this includes places like Pueblo, Colorado. We expect them to have a better year than normal due to that El Nino. Fort Morgan as well, and then Rapid City, South Dakota, Spokane, Washington, as well for the 40 to 50 inches of snowfall. Now, 30 to 40 inches, we start including many areas on the East Coast in that I-81 corridor up into southern New England. Hartford, Connecticut, Allentown, PA, Wilkes-Barre, PA, Harrisburg, Hagerstown, Maryland, Harrisonburg, Virginia, Roanoke, Boone, North Carolina, Charleston, West Virginia, Pittsburgh, PA, Canton, Ohio, Detroit, Chicago, Milwaukee, Dubuque. All these areas for 30 to 40 inches of snowfall, which, going back, is slightly above average in many areas closer to the coast here, but it's generally right around average as a whole. It's nothing too above average, maybe a couple inches, but that's about it. Heading out west, Fargo, North Dakota, North Platte, Nebraska, Santa Fe, New Mexico, a little bit above average. We expect them to have a better year than normal. Into Bend, Oregon, and all those fancy houses up there. All right, 20 to 30 inches now. Into places like New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Reston, Virginia, just west of D.C. We know how D.C. performs. Charlottesville, Virginia. So a lot of these I-95 areas near New York City and then heading down into the Mid-Atlantic is looking at about 20 to 30 inches of snowfall. So right around average generally, somewhat above average once you get down to Virginia, and then below average back out in the Midwest. So 20 to 30 inches, not even in Columbus. Into places like Springfield, Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Davenport, Iowa, as well as Des Moines, and then over into Omaha, Nebraska for 20 to 30 inches, so a bit below average. Dodge City, Kansas, and Amarillo, Texas are above average at 20 to 30 inches, and then also Idaho Falls, a little bit below average. Reno, Nevada, right around average as well, we expect out there. 10 to 20 inches, so now we're in this gray area here. Atlantic City, New Jersey, much of coastal New Jersey there. Washington, D.C., just barely, probably in the upper teens up there. Fredericksburg, Virginia, as well as Richmond, still 10 to 20 inches. Down to Asheville, North Carolina. We expect the North Carolina mountains to have a good snowfall year this upcoming season. Columbus, Ohio, on the other end of the spectrum, below average up there into Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. We expect it to be a bit drier than normal and slightly warmer up in these areas. Indianapolis, Indiana, St. Louis, Peoria, Illinois, Kansas City, Missouri/Kansas, and then Fayetteville, Arkansas, into the Ozarks, around 10 to 20 inches of snowfall. Heading out west, Wichita, Kansas, Hayes, Kansas, Lubbock, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and many other areas that are relatively rural out here. 10 to 20 inches of snowfall. Now we're counting down, so 5 to 10 inches of snowfall for the winter in places like Newport News, Virginia, Greensboro, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, even Greenville, South Carolina. We expect them to have a relatively good year as far as snowfall is concerned, or bad year depending on how you're looking at it. Chattanooga, Tennessee in the same category, Nashville, Tennessee as well. Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, and Evansville, Indiana. These areas are a bit below average up there. And then over into Oklahoma City and Tulsa, a bit above average on the other end. And then heading out west, Wichita Falls, Texas, Odessa, Texas as well for 5 to 10 inches. That's a bit above average. Boise, Idaho, a bit below average. And then as well as Yakima, Washington, which is a bit below average as well. All right, wrapping this up. So we got Norfolk, Virginia in 2 to 5 inches, as well as Raleigh and Greenville, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, much of upstate South Carolina, as well as northern Georgia, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, Tupelo, Memphis, Tennessee, 2 to 5 inches, which is a little bit above average for them, as well as Little Rock, Arkansas. You know, you can have some years where they get nothing and other years where they get a few inches, so we expect this winter to be one of those years where you do get a few inches in Little Rock. Heading over into Dallas as well. I can see I forgot to put Dallas, Fort Worth on the map, but yes, that includes Dallas for 2 to 5 inches as well. And then coming all the way up into the Pacific Northwest, we have Seattle, Portland, Salem, and Eugene for 2 to 5 inches of snowfall. So this is a little bit below average, especially up in Seattle and Portland. So this has been the 2023 to 2024 winter snowfall forecast. I hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll have more content just like this coming up. Thank you for watching.